Happy Halloween and spooky day, my fellow digital duelists, and welcome back to the channel. You'd think on Halloween I would upload some kind of purple deck profile or, something spooky like that, but no. What I am actually going to show you today is Fear Incarnate, the scariest of scares, something that truly brings a shiver down your spine. You might look at this face and think to yourself, well, he's just a little kid, a harmless boy. What could he possibly do to me? And have you ever seen Chucky, or the movie The Boy, the Brams, or like Annabelle? It's always the cutest things that give you the biggest scares and are the most life-threatening to you. Scary dolls, scary kids, children. All these things are truly, truly spooktacular. And nothing is more debased than what Bandai decided to do on the ban list and give us Tommy back to 4. True fear-inducing nonsense. Absolute insanity. I swear, Bandai must have been watching some kind of horror movie before deciding to make this ban list go live. Because this is scary. This is Blue Hybrid. And this is Blue Hybrid for the BT14 format, the first BT14 deck on this channel. And let me tell you something. I built the most toxic Blue Hybrid deck you can possibly build. It's a whole deck of cards that just say, no, you can't. This deck leaves you paralyzed in fear, stunned in silence, and there's not a single thing you can do about it. What's the scariest part is that this works. This, in testing, is beating BT14 decks like Lugamon and Yellow Vaccine, Blue Flare, Bloom Lord, freaking even War Greymon decks. And yes, side note, if there's an X-Antibody underneath a card, you're going to have a harder time. You will. That's about the only thing that protects you from this horror. It's the only cross to use to help exorcise this demon. But, regardless to say, it still sometimes is even too powerful. So today I'm going to show you this deck profile of what true fear, true frozen fear looks like. And you guys can let me know what you think in the comment section below, as well as liking and subscribing. If you enjoy this, if you're a masochist, if you hate yourself and hate the people around you, this is the deck for you. If you want to bring fear and sadness to a person's heart, this is how you do it. So we'll start with the eggs here. This is Bukamon. This is a BT14 egg that reads, if your opponent does not control Digimon with more sources than you do, this Digimon is jamming. Jamming is powerful. You just can't die to security unless there's like an option in there or something. And that's the only thing that you lose to. So this Bukamon egg is actually really good. I remember some people were like, this card should go to 1. And I was sitting in myself like, yeah, okay. It's not going to 1. But jamming on an egg is pretty powerful. But that's just power creep. That is what it is. So onto the rookies. Some Blue Hybrid decks are all about playing, Strabimons and stuff to, get your pieces as a hybrid and all that. No. This Blue Hybrid deck focuses on destroying your opponent's insides and scaring them with cards that can't let them do a single thing. For Formidoki Betamon, they can't get memory except by Tamer effects, which comes up in BT14. And Sayakomon says your opponent can't reduce digivolution costs, which also somewhat comes up in BT14, not as commonly, but it's a floodgate. And instead of playing Strabimons and stuff like that, I thought 8 floodgate blue rookies should suffice. No problem at all. And it works. It works. It's scary. Hard to believe, but it's true. We do play some white rookies, though. We play 2 copies of Nemon. Nemon has an ability where on play you play a Tamer card with an inherited effect. Does that ring any bells? Does a Tamer with an inheritable effect ring any bells? I think it does. On top of that, all turns, when another Digimon is deleted with a Tamer in its sources, you can play a Tamer from your trash. And you can play any Tamer from trash, by the way, which is pretty cool. So I like Nemon a lot in Blue Hybrid. I think it's really cool. And yes, we are playing Bokomons. We are indeed playing Boko. On play, real top 3 cards of your deck, you add a blue card with Hybrid in your hand, and then a Tamer card, and then bottom deck the rest of the cards. And then once per turn, when you evolve, one of your guys on a tamer, you gain 2 memory back. Very interesting card. Gives you your first essentially free hybrid summon a turn. And that's fine. That's all you need sometimes. It's really good. Now, we don't need many rookies because this is a hybrid deck, and it's not like a red hybrid deck, which is like a rookie rush deck on steroids. No. We're actually taking advantage of our hybrids here. So we're playing 4 copies of Kori Kakumon. This card is actually Fear Incarnate. So they can either evolve for 3 on a rookie or 1 on a champion, but 2 on a tamer. And if this card has hybrid in its traits or Tommy, when digivolving, one of your opponent's Digimon with no sources can't attack or block until the end of their turn. This card paralyzes, stuns, and freezes one of your opponent's Digimon, leaving it unable to do anything but sit and watch in horror as you just mutilate them and destroy them and crush them. Agonizing torture. That's what Kori Kakumon does. The rest of your hybrids kind of help you get there, though. We play 4 copies of Kumamon when digivolving. You strip a source from the bottom of your opponent's Digimon, and it's a hybrid. And then the other hybrid we're playing are 4 copies of Lanamon. This one's a little more niche, but comes up sometimes. When digivolving, you can put a blue level 3 underneath it to give it jamming. Jamming is the theme. You know, if you're evolving on a tamer, you're not going to have the jamming egg. But you really want jamming for the boss monsters in this deck, which we'll get to when we get to them. So Lanamon is definitely a good inclusion in this deck. Now, on to the 5s. We're playing 4 copies of Beowulfmon. This thing can evolve for 1 on your champion if there's a tamer card in the sources. Pretty good, pretty easy to do. And then when attacking, you can return a card with hybrid in its traits to your hand to return one of your opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon to your opponent's hand. So, it's a little bounce. What's really cool about Beowulfmon is when attackings activate before aces can choose to hand trap evolve during the opponent's battle phase. So, like, if they control level 4 that can evolve into a hand trap, Beowulf triggers first. So you can bounce a level 4 to the hand before they have an opportunity to hand trap you. And things like that are going to see play everywhere, especially with Yellow Vaccine. They're going to see Mana Angemons out the ass. So Beowulfmon just says nope, and that's pretty cool. Speaking of hand traps, we are playing some. 2 copies of Zudomon Ace. Zudomon Ace is a really interesting card. So you can either evolve for 3 on your turn or play it for 4 on your turn. It's also a hand trap, so when your opponent declares an attack, you can evolve on top of level 4 for free. Now, when you play this card or evolve this card, you strip 2 sources from the opponent's Digimon, whatever sources you want, whatever. Then you can bounce a card to the hand with no sources. So ideally what this card is used for is stripping enough You're already stripping some sources on some big dudes. You are. But this card strips the rest and then bounces something to hand. Pretty powerful. Like, it's a good hand trap because Tommy exists at 4. It's a powerful card. It does have Overflow 3, which means if this card is removed, the opponent gets 3 memory. Pretty cool. You lose 3 memory, and that's a sad, sad thing. But, like, it is an interrupting card, and a pretty good one at that. Can't complain about it. Now, on to the boss monsters. We're playing 2 copies of BT6 Azulongmong. This card is the stuff of nightmares. Look at it. It looks like something that would appear in a nightmare and, like, destroy your face and eat your insides. When evolving, and evolves for 5, you trash the Digivolution card from the bottom of each of your opponent's Digimon, then you gain memory for each of your opponent's Digimon with no sources. And then you also get Sec +1 for each of your opponent's Digimon with no sources. This thing is nightmare fuel. It can literally attack your opponent for multiple sources, easily with jamming, and then wipe out your opponent with a follow-up hybrid or something else. Azulongmon, truly terrifying, just a crazy powerful card. Now, the thing about Azulongmon is your opponent really has to play into it for you to, like, take advantage of them. Sometimes the opponent will know you're playing Azulongmon, and with that knowledge, they might not go wide. So Azulongmon is kind of mitigated in that sense. So our follow-up boss monster complements it quite well. It's 2 copies of BT11 Mirage Galgamon. This card, if your opponent's not going wide, will punish your opponent. When evolving, you either bounce a 5 to your opponent's hand, or the top card of the security stack if they don't have a 5 or lower. Then, all turns, once per turn, whenever they add cards to their hand, you gain a memory for every 4 cards in their hand. This Mirage Galgamon takes care of the opponent if they're not playing wide, and a Zulongmon takes care of them if they're playing wide. So we have two boss monsters in blue that complement each other quite well in this deck, and of course they'll usually always have jamming. Finally, one copy of Blitz Omni, really complements a Zulongmon well. You swing for all their security, and then you Omnimon for game. It's just what it is. Who doesn't like Blitz? Now we move on to the Tamers. And of course, shout out to Bandai for not unrestricting Jet Selfie, but unrestricting Tommy. So what does this card do that gives people nightmares? Well, from security it plays itself. On play, you strip 3 bottom sources from your opponent's Digimon. But that's not the worst part. When attacking, once per turn inheritable, until the end of your opponent's turn. One of your opponent's Digimon with no Digivolution cards can't attack or block. Just like Korikakumon, it stuns things in place. It's not like Sorai, where if the opponent evolves over it or something or gives it a source, all of a sudden it can operate again. No. Tommy just says, you're stuck for a turn, and there's nothing you can do about it. Tommy is truly the stuff of nightmares. You do not want to be on the other side of a Tommy. You turn your back on Tommy, next thing you know, it'll be right behind you, slitting your throat. That's Tommy. It'll just kill you. Follow-up Tamer, 4 copies of Sorojo. This card's incredible. So at the start of your turn, you gain 2 memory if your opponent controls something in those sources. And then when attacking once per turn, you can suspend the Tamer to strip 2 sources. It's a very good Tamer. It's a very strong Tamer. And it's usually always getting you sources if there's a body on board, because you're stripping those sources and freezing it in play with either Korikakumon or Tommy. And if they're playing no board, then that's fine. Sorojo allows you to do that because they won't play anything, and then you're still going to aggro them out eventually. Final Tamer of the deck, 2 copies of Davis from the Memory Tamer, and then you can add a blue Digimon to your hand when you play it. Sometimes it whiffs. That's really sad, but at the worst case scenario, it is a Memory Tamer. That's fine. Now, we have 5 cards left in the deck, and 4 of those cards belong to Sorai. As this is a truly degenerate deck, we are playing truly degenerate cards. Sorai, on play, you strip 4 sources from something, top 4 sources. And then all your opponent's Digimon with no sources cannot attack until the end of your opponent's next turn. That's pretty good. It's a floodgate. A lot of cards have to say no to it. You just say no. And Sorai just stuns them all in place, freezes them as they watch in horror as you crucify them. It's pretty crazy stuff. And the final card is everyone's favorite blue option in the game. I don't know who doesn't love this card, but Ice Wall. It's limited still, thank God. But, activate it and your opponent has to pay 2 memory every time they attack. They can't even move without hurting themselves. What kind of person would wish that kind of pain on another human being? Imagine saying to someone, guess what? Every time you walk, you're going to step on some spikes. That's awful. Why would you wish that on anyone? Well, that's what this blue deck is all about. That's what this stuff is all about. This is Blue Hybrid, and this is allowed thanks to Bandai. Truly terrifying deck. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and I'll see you later. Unless Tommy gets you first.